right, friends, welcome to you all around the world. Welcome to Follow the Money Radio. So grateful to have you here along for the ride. My name is Jerry Robinson, as you just heard. And welcome to one of the longest running personal finance podcasts on the planet. We began our podcast way back in 2010. That's 13 years now. We've been providing excellent value to our listeners, providing different strategies for all kinds of financial situations. Everybody out there needs to have a financial plan. And today we're going to be talking about the power of preparedness. The power of preparedness, episode number 448. We live in an ever-changing and unpredictable world, and being prepared and having a strong financial safety net for yourself and for your family is not just an option, it's a strategic imperative. And so today we're going to be exploring three pivotal aspects of financial preparedness. The first is going to be building a substantial food and water supply. This all goes along with our 5 levels of financial freedom, specifically level 3. The second aspect we're going to look at is the importance of accumulating 6 months worth of income. Basically having 6 months of income on hand as your emergency reserve for life. You need 6 months always locked away. We're going to talk about that. And then the third aspect of level 3 is to diversify that savings. So instead of leaving all of that 6 months liquid savings in US dollars, we have created a strategy known as our DSL, Diversified 6-Month Liquid Savings Strategy, that actually outperforms cash returns over time. Although with the current interest rates being elevated, you could build the case that dollars are okay, but you'll see as we discuss our diversified 6-month liquid savings strategy on this podcast episode, how that can also play in to your own financial plan. So these strategies that we're going to be talking about today form the bedrock of resilience in our 5 levels of financial freedom, providing you with the peace of mind and stability needed to navigate through life's uncertainties. So get ready. We're about to embark on a journey that can transform the way you approach financial security. Let's dive in. All right, so if you've been staying up to date with our podcast series on the 5 levels of financial freedom, we've been going through level 1, level 2, and now we're in level 3. We've spent the last several episodes focused upon level 1 and especially level 2, where we're laying the foundation for a solid financial plan. And today is no different. We're going to continue right along with our 5 levels of financial freedom, which, by the way, you can find on our website anytime. You can go and take a look at them, dive in deep into them. followthemoney.com/5 levels. That's where you'll find them there. We created these many years ago as a way to share what we were doing personally, my wife and I, how we were approaching our own financial freedom and trying to achieve financial freedom. And certainly it has worked for us. And we've seen it work for hundreds, if not thousands of other people over the last decade. Those who have used these principles to break free financially. So, and the importance also, we should say, is that, many times people who may be new to our 5 levels, they may say, well, when are we going to get to the good stuff already? Like investing in stocks and investing in real estate and other sexy topics. But we encourage you to be patient. Level 3 is a vital step in your plan. And remember, those who have adequate savings are actually better investors than those who have little to no savings. We're going to talk about that today because obviously we're building up a total of 6 months gross income saved in level 3. That's our strategy. That's our goal. And you may be surprised to find out that those who are good savers are actually better investors. You may say, why? Why would somebody who has savings in the bank be a better investor? Well, let me tell you, because if you have savings, then you are less likely to feel the need to go out and hit a quote unquote home run in the stock market or in the crypto market, or to take on excessive kinds of debt in order to be able to make money, or to place all of your money in a risky real estate venture, right? Furthermore, you will be a better investor because you will have ready cash reserve to be able to scoop up any great investing deals that come along your way. Think about your savings as an opportunity pool of capital, not just an emergency savings account. But before we get into the topic of saving money and moving up to that 6-month level, we're going to begin by talking about the importance of building a total of 6 months food and water supply. Now, this is a really important topic that we have seen over the years be more important than many people can even understand. In times of crisis, access to food and clean water can become a lifeline. And natural disasters, unforeseen circumstances, and even temporary disruptions in the supply chain can leave everyone vulnerable. So therefore, it's important, in our opinion, if you're going to build a financial plan, if you're seeking financial freedom, that it's important that you have a reliable reserve, that you're not just ensuring your own that's not just ensuring your own well-being, but also of your loved ones as well. So how do you go about building a reserve of food and water? Well, many people might picture, someone having stacks and stacks of freezer dried food, or, some sort of buckets of, food that's kind of freeze dried and prepared food. But this is the kind of food you wouldn't normally eat, but in the case that the lights go out and you need an emergency food supply, this is what you would turn to. Well, that's not really the approach we take. I don't think there's anything wrong with that particular approach. It's just the fact that I've tried some of those buckets of food over the years just to see how they taste. I'm not so convinced. I'm sure there's some that are fine. But I'll tell you this, that we prefer just to simply gradually accumulate non-perishable items that our household regularly consumes. So we consider essentials like canned foods, grains, dried fruits, bottled water. What we're aiming for here is a 6-month supply to provide a substantial buffer against any kind of unexpected events, and they can certainly pop up. And on our website, on our 5 levels of financial freedom, we even share with you 7 guidelines to build a long-term food storage. When people think about this, I often think when we talk about this, sometimes people will say, that sounds a little alarmist, building up food and water supply. What are you preparing for? Well, take a look around you, friends. I mean, look at the world we live in. It's a dangerous world, right? Very dangerous world. And being prepared is something that you have within your means to do, right? And you can do it your own way. You don't have to do it my way. You don't have to do it somebody else's way. You can do it your own way. But I would encourage you to be prepared regardless of, how you do it. I remember many years ago, I've told the story many times, but I remember watching a PBS show on the topic of supply chains and how they could affect the food supply here in America. And we saw even some of that during the Ukraine war in 2022. Supply chains were interrupted, and it caused a lot of havoc here in the United States. Long lines and some foodstuffs were running out during the COVID situation. You may recall this. Some people suffered greatly during that time. Not just here in the United States, but across the world. And we have listeners all over the world. So we're talking not just to Americans today, but to everyone across all countries. And so this is important for everyone who's listening. But I remember watching this PBS show, and there was a lady who was being interviewed, and they were just asking random questions like, where does food come from? And this lady with a straight face said, the grocery store, The grocery store is where food comes from. And how people must be in a shock when they find out that grocery stores don't actually make food, but instead they are bussed in or traveled in or from trains or tractors or trucks or whatever. They're brought in and they are brought to the grocery store. So the grocery store is not in there making food in the back, are they? Instead, what they're doing is they're a warehouse. They bring in food. So therefore, if the supply chain is crimped, people who don't know that the grocery stores don't make food are going to be in trouble, right? And there's a lot of people, friends, who won't think about stuff like this. They wait until the very last minute. And then when danger strikes or when a problem or unforeseen circumstances arise, they don't know what to do. What they're going to be doing is knocking on their neighbor's door, asking for a loaf of bread. Now, in a situation like that, I want you, as our listener, as our members, as our students, I want you to be the one who is able to offer a loaf of bread to a stranger, not to be the one begging for bread because you didn't prepare, right? I encourage you to have a preparedness mindset on this topic. Now, as I mentioned, there are 7 guidelines to building a long-term food storage on our website. You'll find that right there in our 5 levels of financial freedom, and I encourage you to read through it. There's all kinds of strategies, including cooking off the grid, using like a rocket stove or different things like that. There's some really cool off the grid ways to cook. Maybe in the event that there's a power outage and you need to cook food, well, you could certainly use propane cooker, but you could also use like a sun oven. There's really neat types of off-the-grid cooking solutions that you can find. So too, you can also just focus on long shelf life type of foods that you can keep in your cupboard that just keeps you ready in the event that you need to have something like that. We also use a first in, first out, a FIFO kind of food rotation system. So we'll buy extra, cans of food or whatever we're doing, whatever we buy when we go to the store, dry grains, we'll buy extra of those. That's our strategy. And then we just kind of, rotate them out properly. So we have, a good amount of food ready on hand in the event that the store's closed for some reason, or we can't get to the store for some reason, or whatever, things can happen. So what our philosophy on this, all of this, basically we eat what we store, and we store what we eat. What's the purpose of storing it if you never plan to eat it? A lot of people spend a lot of money, or they won't spend the money because they're like, I don't plan on eating this, and I don't want to buy all these things that I'm not going to eat. So we don't want just the stored food sitting there waiting for an emergency to happen. We want to consume it. So you want to buy food that you already enjoy, and you just simply consume it and replenish it with new stock. And so the motto that we approach this whole thing with is to store what you eat and eat what you store. In addition to food supply, you also want to think about water storage, water supply. So in addition to having 6 months of food reserves, you also want to look at some sort of water storage solution. There's all different kinds of ways to do this. If you live out in, a rural setting like we do, then you have, more options. We specifically bought a property, my wife and I, when we moved out of the city many years ago, and we moved out into a rural area where we could grow food. So there's one way to find food. Another thing we wanted was water sources on the property. And that's what we did. We found a piece of acreage that had water supply, water sources, and then we grow food on as well. And this has just worked out to be a great place for us. Now, not everybody lives out in the country. Not everybody can afford to go do that. Some people live in the city. And if you live in the city, then you have a bit more challenges, because where are you going to store water? Where are you going to store extra food? Especially if you're like in a tight apartment somewhere downtown, in some city, it's going to be difficult for you to really think about that. So in that case, you can look at, what I would recommend is getting some type of water filter that allows you, like a portable water filter. We like the Katadyn pocket ceramic water filter that is used in the Swiss Army and many other, by many armies around the world. Not the Swiss Army, but many armies around the world. And and also the idea of being able to have enough water on hand. So one person on average needs about 1 gallon per day. That's absolute minimum. You would really ideally have more, but you could survive on about 1 gallon per day if you had it. We recommend playing it safe and at least having 2 gallons per day. And again, one way to do this if you're in the city is just to have a portable water filter so that you can find a water source somewhere in the town, even if it's not, designed for drinking, and you can convert it to drinking water through that water filter. So there's, again, there's always in your own home too, you'll think about, you have a hot water tank, there's water there. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can think about water storage in your particular situation. But the very first thing we want to think about when it comes to level 3 is building that total of 6 months of food and water supply. We're not talking about going crazy. We're not talking about going crazy prepper, moving out to the hills and, preparing for, the worst. But instead, just right where you are, being able to shelter in place in the event that you need it, and having the food and water supplies to take care of yourself and your family in the event that it's required. Okay, so that's the first part of the level 3. And let me share a story that just puts that in perspective, very brief. But a few years back, and this happens all the time, and we get emails from our members that tell us about this, but I'm thinking of one in particular. One of our members was a gold member, in fact, who was living down in Florida. And there was, of course, in Florida, you're going to have hurricanes. And this member found himself caught in the middle of a very severe storm that led to widespread power outages and limited access to stores. And he just could not tell us enough how much the go bag, which we had talked about in level 1, you may recall from that episode earlier, but then also having the 6 months food and water supply, he had a well-stocked pantry. And it was a game changer for him and his family. He was not prepared. He was not thinking about this until he had gone through our 5 levels. And then he had prepared. And then this hurricane came. And it totally convinced him of how important it is to be prepared. And not only did it ensure they had enough to eat during the crisis, but it also provided a sense of security that money simply cannot buy. So I encourage you to be thinking deeply about that and seeing how you can customize that strategy for your own situation wherever you might live. Now, we're going to talk about the second aspect now of the level 3 of our 5 levels of financial freedom, and that is to build a total of 6 months gross income saved. So that's the second pillar of financial preparedness today, accumulating a savings cushion equivalent to 6 months of your gross income. Now, you want to imagine this. Many people say, well, why do I need 6 months of income saved, gross income saved? Well, it's like a reserve. This reserve is like your financial lifeline. In the event of an unexpected job loss, which can happen, medical emergencies, unforeseen circumstances, if you have that 6 months of income set aside, again, it provides not just the stability, but also the peace of mind. We've all experienced a dilemma, a flat tire, a trip to the emergency room, urgent travel for family emergencies. You shattered your cell phone on the kitchen floor. You may even lose your job, right? Situations that are unexpected, yet they can happen to anyone at any time. And these are the types of things that can put us into debt because we say, well, we don't have enough money, so I guess we'll put it on the Visa card or we'll put it on the credit card. We'll just charge it. But these are the things that can ruin your well-intentioned budget. They can ruin your plans, your financial plans. And so for those who prepare, these scenarios will not destroy their financial plan. It will not hurt their long-term goals. So the key to weathering these budgeting storms is to build a liquid savings reserve, but not just any savings reserve. A well-planned large pool of savings that will get you through any kind of glitch, almost any kind of glitch, in your life. So remember in level 1, we had talked about the importance of building 2 months of liquid savings. And that's important. We want to start there. But now that we're in level 3, we want to up that now to 6 months, right? So let's think about what this means. If you make, for example, a $60,000 gross annual income, well, then what you would want to do is you would want to build $30,000 in your cash reserve. If you make $200,000 per year, you want to build $100,000 in your reserve. Now, the key here is to plan for what you truly need and what you truly want, not the bare minimum just to get by. If you lose your job and you're temporarily out of work for a few months, do you want to be forced to sell your belongings just to pay your mortgage and bills? Or do you want to have a nice cushion to bridge the gap between jobs? Well, we prefer the latter scenario, as most people do, because during a crisis, the last thing you may want to worry about is money or how you're going to pay the bills or put food on the table for your family, right? Some other things to consider in determining the amount of your savings reserve includes your job security, the condition of your real estate, the health of you and your dependents. You may want to consider the amount of deductible in your auto and homeowners and health insurance. What if you had a car accident? What if there was a house fire? What if there's a hospital stay all in the same year? It's unlikely, but it could happen. And you don't want to be forced to liquidate your 401k with penalties just so you can pay the bills, right? Naturally, such factors change with time. So it's important to review your savings reserve on a regular basis. But the bottom line, from our perspective, is that you always want to keep a minimum of 6 months of your annual gross income in liquid savings, and more if you have additional risk factors to consider. It's very, very important. Now, and here's our strategy for how do we use this 6 months liquid savings. So, the savings reserve is a pool of funds that you hold in a readily available form. It's got to be liquid so that it can meet these unexpected needs when you need it. But let me just be totally frank and transparent with you here and say that many of our listeners and many of our readers, our members here, tell us that this 6-month liquid savings pool in level 3 is more difficult to build. Because why? Well, because first of all, it's just difficult to save. Many people just have a difficult time saving money. But then additionally, there's a temptation to want to begin investing that money and taking risks with that money instead of just putting it aside so that you have that buffer, right? It's totally understandable. But as we always say, don't be tempted to put the cart before the horse. Savings first, then investing. There's plenty of science behind this concept of prioritizing savings in your financial game plan. As I mentioned before, dedicated savers are better prepared in a time of economic crisis because they have quick access to liquid capital to seize upon opportunities, but also to take advantage, or not to just take advantage of opportunities, but also to protect them in the event of emergencies. So good savers make better investors because their access to liquid capital lowers their desire to take on too much risk. So building your 6-month liquid savings is one of the most important steps in our entire 5 levels of financial freedom program. This savings is going to provide you with a safety net for the unforeseen events that can happen to anyone. It also, by the way, allows you to go back and rearrange your level 2 protection in a more favorable way. Because if you have a sizable pool of liquid savings, well, then you can go back and you can raise the deductible on your auto insurance or your home insurance or your, whatever it might be, or your health insurance, because you have the ability to cover those deductibles because you have cash, right? And so that's going to lead to a net savings for you that you wouldn't normally have, because you would have to have low deductibles in the event that you don't have any cash savings, right? So very powerful. And as we continue to say, in order to build your 6 months of savings, we recommend that you save at least 15% of your income every month. So for example, if you earned $5,000 in gross monthly income, then we suggest that you save a minimum of $750 to go to your liquid savings pool. Now, for some of you, this is no problem. You can easily save 15%, and you may have already been saving this much or more before you even listened to this podcast or knew about our 5 levels of financial freedom. But not everybody saves, and not everybody has the desire to save, and so they need to have some sort of incentive. Well, we've talked about that many, many times, and we have so many different articles and podcast episodes on our website that talk about the importance of savings. I'm looking here at several resources we have. 8 ways to save money fast, 3 steps to cutting expenses, 10 ways to avoid shopping traps and spend less money, 7 ways to cut the fat from your budget. These are all resources we have for free right here on our website that you can go and take advantage of. I encourage you to become focused upon saving. Remember, savings is your profit rate. That is what your profit rate is. And many people don't have a profit rate. They work all week long, they get their paycheck, and the paycheck goes to all of these corporations, the water company, the electric company, Walmart, their local grocery store, whatever, on and on. And by the time you get to the end of the money, there's no money left to be saved, right? So there's no money left for the person. So there's no profit rate. They take all of the revenue that they receive and they give it away to everyone, but they don't keep any for themselves. So they're, in essence, working for a 0% profit rate. It's absurd. That would be absurd. We don't want to do that. We want to have savings, and we want to make that profit rate as close to 15% as we can. More if possible. Not everybody can. But certainly if you don't have a profit rate now at all, if you're not saving anything, well, then make your goal 1%, right? And then slowly get to 2% and then 3%. So you're slowly beginning to get there to where you're saving money. Now, once you begin to save this money, you're going to want to be careful not to put it all in cash, because obviously that's not a good long-term place to keep money forever. So we're going to talk when we get back from this other side of this break about how to diversify that 6 months of liquid savings. We'll see you on the other side. Hey friends, Jerry Robinson here from Follow the Money Radio. Are you ready to unlock the secrets to financial independence? I invite you to join me for a complimentary 20-minute discovery session. It's your chance to dive deep into our 5 levels of financial freedom and get answers to your burning questions. Together, we'll craft a roadmap to your financial success. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity. It's a limited time offer. Visit our website, followthemoney.com/coaching to schedule your free 20-minute session right now. Your financial freedom journey begins today. Hey friends, Jerry Robinson here from Follow the Money Radio. For a limited time, you can enjoy an exclusive 15% discount on all of our premium products and services. From insightful video courses to our books and our membership plans designed for traders and investors, it's all here to supercharge your financial journey. Simply use coupon code 15OFF, that's 15 off, at checkout. Don't miss this chance to elevate your financial knowledge and skills. Visit our website, followthemoney.com today. Your path to financial success just got even more rewarding. Seize the opportunity. Get 15% off all products and services for a limited time. Followthemoney.com. All right, friends, welcome back to the podcast, episode 448. Follow the Money Radio, entitled The Power of Preparedness. As we've been talking, we've been going through level 3 of our 5 levels of financial freedom, which you can find online, followthemoney.com/5 levels. There you can discover a perfectly laid out step-by-step program to help you move from financial bondage to total financial freedom. And today we're talking about level 3, which is the third level of the 5 levels of financial freedom. And level 3 is all about building and diversifying reserves, financial reserves. We've already talked about the first 2 elements of level 3 earlier in today's broadcast. We talked about building a total of 6 months food and water supply. And we also talked about building a total of 6 months gross income saved. So those are things that you can go back and listen to, not just in this episode, but also on our website. You can go to our website and see many more details about this. So I'm just scratching the surface on these topics in today's podcast episode. Now, as we continue and as we bring this episode now to its, nearing its conclusion, we're going to move into that third element, that third particular aspect of the 5 levels of financial freedom, specifically level 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see this third aspect, which is known as income diversification. Income diversification. So we've all heard of diversification. And over the last 15 years, I've been explaining the importance of diversification when it comes to your finances. I believe diversification should apply not just to your investment world. In fact, I think it should apply to at least 3 areas of your financial life. Number 1, it should apply to your savings. So you want to diversify your liquidity. Secondly, you want to diversify your investments, of course, diversifying your investment dollars across a wide variety of asset classes. This makes you more nimble and prepared in the event that the rules of the game change. The rules of the game are determined by the IRS, the IRS code, if you live here in the United States, or your local government, whatever their rules might be, they can change. And then thirdly, we want income diversification, right? So creating multiple streams of income in your financial life. We're going to get into that in level 4 and level 5 of our 5 levels of financial freedom. Those are upcoming episodes. So if you're interested in creating multiple streams of income or diversifying your investments and talking about that topic, well, those are coming up. So those are straight ahead in future episodes. So be ready for that. But today we are concluding level 3 of our 5 levels of financial freedom, where we teach the need to have 6 months of liquid savings at all times. And that is 6 months of your gross income. So again, just to reiterate, if you earn $2,000 per month, then you should technically have, according to this strategy, $12,000 in liquidity at all times. Now, simply saving money is not enough, however. And as we've talked about, inflation, as we've often talked about, and inflation is a constant threat to your financial plan and any modern fiat monetary system. Since the Fed can print money at any time here in the U.S. and your local central bank or your particular national central bank in some other country can do the same thing, you better believe that inflation will continue to pose a hazard to your finances. So if you want to dampen the ravaging effects of inflation that cause a loss of purchasing power on your money, then diversifying your savings should be a priority. We call this strategy the DSL strategy for short, but it's really short for diversified 6-month liquid savings strategy, right? And this is really important to remember that the primary goal when choosing a holding place for your DSL savings reserve dollars is liquidity, since your DSL savings serves at least two purposes. We talked about how it's an emergency fund, and we also talked about how it's a fund for opportunity capital. Those who have a ready pool of liquid cash are able to take advantage of opportunities that others without cash cannot. But let me explain to you what this 6 months liquidity is not. It is not retirement savings. Retirement savings is not very liquid, of course, because you're not going to be using it until retirement. So this is not money that you say, well, this is my retirement savings. No, this is not your retirement savings. This 6 months liquid savings is strictly for emergencies and opportunities, cash opportunities. That's what this is. It's going to keep you out of debt, and it's going to help you take advantage of opportunities as they come along. But it's not your retirement savings. So you would not say, well, I'm going to save my DSL and that's it. No. Remember, the DSL savings, this 6-month liquid savings, is not your investments. It's not investing. So you're going to have investing over and above this 6 months liquidity that you're going to build. But it's not your retirement savings. It's not education savings, right? If your goal is to save for your child's education, then that money should be separate from your DSL savings, this 6 months liquidity. You could use a 529 plan or some other kind of plan to save for education. And then, of course, it's not an investment of any other kind as well, because it's strictly savings. So over the years, of course, we run into people that think saving money is a waste of time or that it's unnecessary, but these are usually the same people who rely upon credit cards when they get a flat tire, or who have to pull money out of their IRA or 401k at the very bottom of the market whenever an emergency arises. Usually these are also the same people who feel that they need to hit a home run with every single investment because they don't have any cash. Okay, so in my opinion, this is a poor lifestyle choice. I prefer to have diversified liquid cash on hand that I can quickly access in the case of an emergency or if a great opportunity arises. Let me make this clear. A lack of liquidity is not an option for the days ahead. You must have access to liquid cash if you're going to create a successful financial plan. Now, as I talk about diversification, I'm not going to get into this too deeply because we have a great article on our website that I encourage you to go check out. You can print it out, take a look. We've done a whole study on this topic. Go to followthemoney.com/DSL, DSL, Diversified Liquid Savings Plan. So DSL is the name that we use. Now, when you look at the strategy, what you'll see is that we did a few studies, and one of the studies looked at taking 1/3 of these US dollars and putting them into, say, a savings account, right? Another third into physical precious metals, and then another third into other currencies. It could be the euro, the Swiss franc, Canadian dollars, maybe even Bitcoin. And, it's all up to you how you do this. And some people, it's not going to work for. Some people will not want to have any kind of anything else besides the US dollar. But we have back-tested the performance of this strategy using historical data from the last 31 years. And in nearly every scenario, we beat the performance of just holding dollars by diversifying the 6 months liquidity, right? Very, very powerful. So also because remember, inflation is eroding that value of the money that you have. So I would encourage you to go to our website, followthemoney.com/DSL. You'll find a plethora of information here if you're interested in this topic about how our DSL savings strategy beats regular savings on most timeframes. In fact, I'm looking at every time frame. We went from 2016 to 2021. Our DSL beat the regular savings. From 2010 to 2021, we beat the performance of regular savings account. 21 year from 2000 to 2021, and also from 1990 to 2021, we beat the performance of a regular savings account over and over and over again. And then when you add in Bitcoin to the study, it really gets pretty interesting. So I encourage you to check it out on our website. But the point is that you want to be diversified. You want to diversify to protect your savings from the eroding power of inflation, and can even help you grow your savings on an after inflation basis by diversification, right? That's it. No secrets, no magic tricks, no late night infomercial gimmicks, right? Just plain vanilla diversification. It's amazing how just a little bit of diversification can make a big difference in your strategy. So when it comes to savings, not just saving that 6 months, but then also looking at how you can actually diversify that savings to give you an edge over the inflation that obviously is ravaging everybody's accounts. Everybody is facing inflation, no matter where you are. It's just a difficult thing that we all have to deal with. So, and we've seen so many people report to us, members and readers and listeners, about the power of this diversification in their savings, right? That liquid savings, whenever it's diversified, can really ramp up your returns over time. And of course, that's not really the goal of savings. You're not trying to beat the stock market or something, but you are trying to beat inflation, right? That's the main thing that you're trying to beat. And if you're just holding dollars, you're not beating inflation. You're getting ravaged by inflation, right? So you've got to think about that, as it all unfolds. I hope this podcast episode has been helpful and enlightening for you today. The power of preparedness. As we wrap up today's episode on the power of preparedness, let's reflect on the key insights that can transform your financial outlook. What have we learned here? We've discovered that building a robust financial safety net is not just an option, it's a necessity, right? From a well-stocked pantry to a strong diversified savings cushion, each step of level 3 contributes to a more secure and resilient financial future. So what's your next move? Well, now you're armed with this knowledge, so it's time to take action. Let's begin by implementing these strategies into your financial plan. Remember, the journey to financial preparedness is not a sprint, but a steady and deliberate marathon towards greater financial freedom. Friends, welcome back to the final moments here on Follow the Money Radio. In this episode, we've been covering the power of preparedness. I sure hope, again, one more time, I hope this has been helpful for you. And I sure hope that you're encouraged and feel enlightened from this information. I want you to be able to go forth with a new sense of purpose and a motivation to really improve your finances, to really move on that road closer towards financial freedom. And you can do all of that by going to our website, followthemoney.com/5 levels, and checking out what we have to cover there. There's lots of free information waiting for you right there on our website. Also, before I move into our final moments, I also want to remind you, many of you have been reaching out and saying, hey, we'd love to hear your latest comments on the stock market or the crypto market. And I want you to know, those of you listening to this podcast episode, that you can always find that in our membership here at followthemoney.com. where we are constantly churning out new ideas every single day, sending out emails to our members. We do a weekly webcast via Zoom where you're able to dial in and listen as we break down what's happening in the markets and provide investing ideas and investing strategies, trading ideas galore. So that if you're interested in joining our investing and trading club, you just go to followthemoney.com/join. Choose your plan, and you will get on the inside of the Follow the Money membership, and there'll be lots there for you. So if that's what you're interested in, be sure to check it out, followthemoney.com/join. As always, I'd like to leave you with a final word. This time, it's an ancient proverb that carries timeless wisdom. It goes something like this: the best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best time is now. Embrace the power of preparedness and watch as it transforms not only your financial security, but your entire outlook on life. Thanks for joining us on this enlightening episode. And Until next time, friends, remember, when you want the truth about the global economy, just follow the money. Have a safe and prosperous week, and we'll see you right back here next time. Until then, God bless.
Follow the Money podcast is strictly for informational and educational purposes. It should not be construed as specific investment advice. The views and opinions of our guests and sponsors, including Tom Cloud, are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of FTMDaily.com or Robinson Media Group, LLC. Jerry Robinson does hold an insurance license and at times may offer consulting on life insurance and fixed retirement income products. Follow-up, individualized responses to email or phone requests that involve the rendering of personalized investment advice for compensation will not be made absent compliance with state investment advisor registration requirements or an applicable exemption or exclusion and applicable insurance regulations. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should be aware of the real risk of loss in following any strategy or investment discussed on the podcast. Remember, never do your financial planning through podcast or radio. It's your money. Be wise. Do your due diligence and always consult a trusted financial professional before making any financial decision.